Module 2, Regulations. Title 10 is the law that Congress used to assign EPA and HUD the authority to regulate the lead industry. So there are three organizations that we talk about in this class. EPA, which is the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. It establishes the accredited training certification programs for workers and supervisors, inspectors, risk assessors conducting evaluation or abatement of lead-based paint. It establishes the requirements for pre-renovation education, and it promulgated the Renovation, Repair, and Painting Program Final Rule, which is called the RRP Rule. The second organization is HUD, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It established the actions in federally assisted target housing, established federal grant programs, established guidelines for lead-based paint evaluation and control, and it established the lead-safe housing rule. The third organization is OSHA, which is the United States Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and it establishes the work protection standards. The RRP rule. It addresses activities that disturb lead-based paint in target housing and child-occupied facilities. Target housing is a home or residential unit built on or before December 31st, 1977, except when housing built for the elderly or persons with disabilities, unless a child under 6 resides there, or 0-bedroom dwellings. Studio apartments, hospitals, hotels, dormitories, all of these are exempt under target housing. Child-occupied facilities is any pre-1978 building or portion of a building that is visited by the same child under 6 years old. The visits are at least 2 different days within any week or for at least 3 hours each day, where the combined weekly visits exceed 6 hours and combined annual visits exceed 60 hours. Child-occupied facilities include schools, child care facilities, and daycare centers. Firms working in pre-1978 homes and child-occupied facilities must be certified and use a lead-safe work practices during renovations. EPA may authorize states, territories, and tribes to enforce the rule. The RRP rule, exclusions. You are excluded when a lead inspection report prepared by a certified lead inspector or risk assessor finds that no lead-based paint is present, when lead analysis of a collected paint chip sample or an EPA-recognized test kit is used by a certified renovator, when interior renovation, repair, or painting work disturbs less than 6 square feet of paint per room. Window replacement and demolition do not qualify for exclusions. When exterior renovations disturbs less than 20 square feet of paint per side of the building. When the homeowner conducts renovation, repair, or painting in the home they occupy. When the work is not conducted for compensation of any kind. When an emergency renovation is performed, the pre-renovation education and setup requirements are waived to the extent necessary to respond to the emergency. The RRP rule, firm certification. All covered renovations must be performed by certified firms using certified renovators and trained workers. To become a certified firm, firms must submit an application and pay a fee directly to EPA. Certifications will be good for 5 years. Certification allows the firm to perform renovations in pre-1978 properties in any non-authorized state or Indian tribal area. The RRP rule, firm responsibilities. The firm is responsible to ensure the overall compliance of the RRP rule. The firm must ensure that all renovation personnel are certified renovators or have been trained on the job by certified renovators. The firm must assign a certified renovator to all jobs, a minimum of 1 per job, unless it is a HUD job. In that case, all workers may be required to be certified renovators. A firm must meet pre-renovation education requirements. The firm must meet record-keeping requirements. All records must be kept for a minimum of 3 years. The RRP rule, individual certification. To become a certified renovator, an individual must take an EPA-approved 8-hour training course from an EPA-accredited training provider. This is the course that you are in currently, and we are the accredited training provider. The course completion certificate serves to certify the renovators. After this course, you will be provided with a certificate of completion. You are not required to contact EPA or submit anything further to EPA. You will automatically be considered a certified renovator. You will have to take a refresher training every 5 years. Workers do not need certification so long as the on-the-job training is received from certified renovator and the work is not HUD regulated. The RRP rule, certified renovator responsibilities. You will be the certified renovator, and these will be your responsibilities. Perform work and direct lead-safe work practices. Provide on-the-job training to non-certified workers. These are the individuals who have not become a certified renovator. Keep copy of the initial and/or refresher training certificates on site. When requested, use an EPA-recognized test kit or collect paint chip samples for laboratory lead analysis to identify the presence of lead-based paint. You must be physically present, not to do the work, but to be present during the time that the signs are posted, the work area is being contained, and the work area is being cleaned. You must be available by telephone when off-site. You must maintain the containment to keep the dust and debris within the work area. You must implement the cleaning verification procedure and prepare and maintain all required records. The RRP rule, work practice standards. The renovation, repair, and painting final rule covers setup of the work area, prohibited work practices, cleanup, and the cleaning verification procedure. Setup practices, such as posting the signs and containing the work area, will be covered in Module 4, Prohibited practices will be covered in Module 5. Cleanup practices and cleaning verification will be covered in Module 6. Record keeping will be covered in Module 7. HUD may have additional work practice requirements which you may have to implement when working for HUD projects. The RRP rule enforcement. EPA has the authority to suspend, revoke, or modify a firm certification. If a firm has been found to be non-compliant, they may be held liable with civil penalties of $37,500 for each violation or more. If those same firms who knowingly or willfully violate this regulation, they may be held liable for an additional $37,500 per violation or imprisonment, or both. HUD's Lead Safe Housing Rule. HUD's requirements for federally assisted housing are similar to those in the EPA rules with some exceptions. In this curriculum, the difference between the HUD rules and the RRP rules will be highlighted when they occur by special text boxes containing the HUD logo. These boxes are located at the bottom of pages on which the EPA requirement and a HUD requirement differ. Appendix 2 contains an overview of the HUD requirements and table detailing the differences between the rules. The HUD Lead Safe Housing Rule covers pre-1978, federally owned or assisted housing and federally owned housing which is being sold. HUD's rules does not cover child-occupied facilities unless they are part of a residential property covered by the rule. HUD has many programs that provide financial assistance, for example, rehabilitation, community development, acquisition assistance, etc. HUD requires addressing lead-based paint hazards such as peeling paint, friction and impact surfaces, and high lead dust levels by linking those activities to the HUD financial assistance. When asking clients if the housing is receiving federal assistance, renovators should recognize that the assistance may come through a state or local government, community development corporation, or other local entity. So they may have to ask the client to check into the ultimate source of the assistance fund. HUD does not recognize on-the-job worker training alone and generally requires all individuals performing interim controls of lead hazards in federally owned and federally assisted housing to complete the HUD-approved training course, which in this case would be the EPA-HUD jointly approved Certified Renovator course. HUD's Lead Safe Housing Rule, Safe Work Practices. The HUD Lead Safe Housing Rule requires lead safe work for the activities listed on the slide: paint stabilization, interim control of identified lead paint hazards, rehabilitation, which in this case would be considered renovations, standard treatments, ongoing lead-based paint maintenance, and then we have HUD's de minimis level. In the previous slides, we had the de minimis level, which means it's minor renovations, for EPA was 6 feet in the interior. If you impacted less than 6 feet, and 20 in the exterior, you did not have to follow the rule. HUD shrinks the de minimis level to 2 square feet. So if it's HUD funded and you impact more than 2 square feet in one interior room or space, you will have to follow the RRP rule. The exterior surface will remain the same. So if you impact more than 20 square feet, you will have to follow the rule. HUD also has, if any 10% of the total surface area of a small interior or exterior component, you will also have to follow the rule. HUD's clearance requirements are covered in Module 6. In general, clearance is required after all work. Under EPA rule, you may, as a certified renovator, conduct your own post-clearance to assure that the work has been completed. When it is HUD funded, HUD may require a third-party lead inspector or risk assessor to come out and conduct their own testing to assure that the cleaning process has been done properly. HUD's rule addresses training. HUD requires classroom training for workers. EPA calls this the Certified Renovator class, which is the one you're taking currently. Occupant protection and worksite preparation. Prohibited methods. EPA has 3 prohibited methods, but HUD adds an additional 3, which include heat guns that char paint, dry scraping or sanding except 1 foot within an electrical outlet, and the use of volatile strippers in poorly ventilated space. The de minimis level, which again is EPA has the de minimis level of 6 feet in the interior and 20 feet in the exterior. HUD has the de minimis level of if you impact more than 2 square feet in the interior, then you must follow the rule. And the de minimis level of the exterior is exactly the same, which is the 20 feet. Using lead-safe work practices throughout. Specialized cleaning, which means having a third party inspect and do testing to assure that the work cleanup has been completed properly. And then occupant notification within 15 days. We will discuss this a little further as we move on through Module 6. Know the EPA and the HUD rules. To obtain a copy of the regulations, contact the National Lead Information Center at 1-800-424-LEAD. You may also download the rules and other information from the following websites: epa.gov/lead or hud.gov/offices/lead. Individuals performing renovation, remodeling, and rehabilitation in pre-1978 housing that is federally assisted need to understand the HUD lead-safe housing rule. Appendix 2 contains more information on the HUD lead-safe housing rule. State and local regulations. States and localities may have different regulations than EPA and HUD. If this is the case, make sure to follow the most stringent rule. Federal government does not supersede state level nor local level. The most stringent supersedes all others. Check with your state and local housing and environmental agencies to obtain information about such requirements. Appendix 7 is reserved for copies or summaries of state and local regulations, which you may add to your book. Now you know that the EPA Renovation, Repair, and Painting Program Final Rule, RRP rule, applies to renovation in housing and child-occupied facilities built before 1978 that contain lead-based paint. To always take into account the requirements and responsibilities of certification for certified firms, certified renovators, and to recertify every 5 years. To comply with setup of the work area, prohibited work practices, cleanup, and cleaning verification procedure requirements in the rule. To determine whether your renovation job is regulated by EPA, HUD, both, or neither?